Hello, my 7th grade scholars. Today I'm going to give you a little bit of history about the attack at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii in 1941. So, December 7th, 1941, Japan surprise attacked Pearl Harbor military base in the United States, in Hawaii. That's on the island of Oahu. That's where BYU Hawaii is, if you're familiar with that school. Um, Today the United States and Japan were very friendly and get along just fine. But in the 1930s, the relationship was pretty tense, and Japan, being a small country, felt like they wanted to be bigger and more powerful. And they didn't have very many resources, so they wanted to invade and take over countries around them. Southern China specifically. So China was their first place to invade, so some of the neighboring countries around them. Their plan was to build an empire, like a collection of countries that Japan could control completely and then keep their resources. So they were very dependent on resources outside of them. So Japan's military leaders knew that there was one country on Earth that was very powerful and could possibly overthrow them and stop their plans. So the surprise attack came because they thought that the United States was a threat to their plan to take over and invade other countries. So on December 7th, Japan attacked the United States, thinking that they were going to destroy or weaken the United States enough so that they could continue with their plan. So Franklin Delano Roosevelt, a couple of days later on the 9th, gives a speech declaring war against Japan. And so the article that we're reading is really a speech, a nonfiction piece. It's a speech, is called Declaration of War Against Japan. All right, so let's take a look at Declaration of War Against Japan. The first thing we want to look at when it's written out like this, we're looking at, well, we know we have to write 4 sentences for Précis, right? So the first sentence needs to have 6 things. Well, what are those 6 things? Well, we know the title of it. We know what year it was written. We know the genre. We know it's a speech. We know that President Franklin Delano Roosevelt wrote it. We know his credentials are that he's the President of the United States, and then we need a thesis. So you'll see that I've already highlighted some of those things. It's probably pretty clear to you because you're so amazing, but I have this here in case you feel a little bit confused. It's not really that long of a speech. It's not even quite 2 pages, and this is 12 point. But I wanted to point out that I'm going to leave all these comments here for you, but this section here that's highlighted in yellow in the middle, I wrote this comment that this section gives hints for you to create your thesis. Now, it doesn't have to be worded in exactly the way I word it. I just want to give you ideas. You're free now. You've already done 2 Précis with me, and so now we're going to look at this from your perspective. And I just wanted to give you some hints to send you on your way. So one idea of this hint for a thesis is that the United States and Japan were at a peaceful time with each other when Japan's surprise attack killed American citizens and destroyed many naval and military forces. So that's what he's saying is happening. His purpose is a little bit different, and I think we can already figure out that he's just stating we are now in war. So right here at the end, the very last little paragraph, it says, I ask that the Congress declare that since the unprovoked and dastardly attack by Japan on Sunday, December 7th, 1941, a state of war has existed between the United States and the Japanese Empire. So right here, we're saying the author's purpose is just informing them. He's not trying to persuade them necessarily. He's not narrating. He's not describing. He's not entertaining, that's for sure. So he is informing them that now we are at war. So we already have a few of our things for our 4-sentence Précis. And I left this here for you. The tone at the very end, I give you a lot of ideas for you to get started. So let's take a look and read the whole thing together, and then you'll be all set to follow the formatting, the little template, and write your Précis on your own. And you'll have until Wednesday April 22nd. So April 22nd, Wednesday by midnight, this is due. That basically gives you Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, full days to be working on your Précis. This is your big project for this term.
I'll walk you through it really quick. Declaration of war against Japan. So this is a speech after Pearl Harbor was attacked, just a couple of days later. Mr. Vice President, Mr. Speaker, members of the Senate and the House of Representatives. Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. This is a very famous line. People quote this often. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. The United States was at peace with that nation and, at the solicitation of Japan, was still in conversation with its government and its emperor, looking toward the maintenance of peace in the Pacific. So we, as the United States, thought that we were at peace with Japan. The attack yesterday on the Hawaiian Islands has caused severe damage to American naval and military forces. I regret to tell you that very many American lives have been lost. In addition, American ships have been reported torpedoed on the high seas between San Francisco and Honolulu. As Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy, I have directed that all measures be taken for our defense. Here's another example of President Roosevelt's credentials. So he's the President of the United States, but he's also Commander-in-Chief, as all presidents are. It is just the natural job that they end up having as president. But always will our nation remember the character of the onslaught against us. No matter how long it may take us to overcome this premeditated invasion or this surprise attack, the American people, in their righteous might, will win through to absolute victory. I believe that I interpret the will of the Congress and of the people when I assert that we will not only defend ourselves to the uttermost, but will make it very certain that this form of treachery shall never again endanger us. And then the whole crowd applauds, showing their agreement. Hostilities exist. There is no blinking at the fact that our people, our territory, and our interests are in grave danger. With confidence in our armed forces, with the unbounding determination of our people, we will gain the inevitable triumph. So help us God. And another applause. And here is what he's asking. This is him informing them what needs to happen. So remember, this is with our author's purpose. He is informing. I ask that the Congress declare that since the unprovoked and dastardly attack by Japan on Sunday, December 7th, 1941, a state of war has existed between the United States and the Japanese Empire. So ever since that first bomb, that moment, we are at war with Japan. So this is the point where the president informs us what the plan is. So here's the author's purpose: to inform. I did a couple of definitions here. So dastardly is wicked and cruel. So this wicked and cruel attack. So there is a cool little YouTube video of the actual speech. I'll include that link for you.
All right, so now you've read the text for writing your Précis. This is your project. It's only 4 sentences. A Précis is 4 concise sentences that are a summary of the text that you've read, the nonfiction text. There's a lot of great information about Pearl Harbor, the attack on Pearl Harbor. My kids and I just finished reading this book. I survived the bombing of Pearl Harbor in 1941. It's a cool historical fiction book. There's a ton of stuff out there, great YouTube videos. I'm your English teacher, so we're just looking at how to write a Précis on President Roosevelt's speech claiming that we're going to be at war with Japan. So I'm sorry we can't get into all the fun details of history here. go to your guide to writing a précis and use that template to write your précis for this nonfiction piece. You've got this. We've practiced a couple of times. If you need to email me and ask me questions, fantastic. Ask your parents what they think and have them edit if you just need a little bit of help with punctuation or whatever and spelling, that kind of thing. Please turn in your absolute best work. You've got this. You're not writing a 5-paragraph essay. Woohoo! Or you can be sad about that, but you're just doing a précis for your project this term. This will be your final project and it is
On
due on
Friday, April
Wednesday the
24th.
22nd. We won't have a big 5-paragraph surprise essay at the end of the term. This is it. This is your final project. So good luck. You're awesome. I know you've got this.